merry band, are we not?
Well, for you can drink your fancy ales and can drink 'em by the flagon.
All right. And with that, welcome to this episode of the Cheap Seat Critics podcast, where today we are covering A Field in England. With us today, we have.
Hello, everybody. I'm one of your hosts, a geeky writer.
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Sprinks, and hey, if you're listening from a field in England, very on the nose, I know, you can find us over on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blueski, TikTok, LetterBoxd, where we have our average out numbers and graphs of whatever we have covered. We have YouTube and Rumble for visual side of things, and we got tons of audio platforms out there where you could be listening to right now if you're not a fan of the visuals.
All right, well put. So, yeah, Field in England. This is the Sinister Wheel pick from our previous recap, which landed on the horror genre category. And this is what
Oh yeah,
Writer
it did.
provided for us, or Writer Sinister provided for us. So let's start with our histories, starting with Sprinks.
Awesome. When it comes to Field of England, not a clue. Nothing. Never heard of it. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't even know what year it came out. Didn't watch the trailer. Crimson actually informed me, "Hey, do you know anything about this?" And I said no before even I saw the film. And Crimson informed me, "Hey, okay, stay away from it. Don't look into it. Just go in blind." And I went, "Okay, can do," and that's what I did. But the only little history I can give is I know Sinister, and when it comes to choosing movies or to share films, past Halloween of 2025, Sinister shared a couple Halloween movies, and this movie is a little reminiscent to one of them he showed, which I'm
Uh,
blanking on the
which
name of.
one- is it the snake one, or which one are you referring to?
No, not the white snake. No, the Loch Ness the lake monster.
Oh, the Lake Michigan monster.
Lake, yeah, that.
Why does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Crap, do I have a history with that
Writer,
one?
I'm sure you probably have no idea what that one is either. That's a left
I'd be
field.
amazed
Hold
if
on.
you do.
Listen, I have some random left field movies. Let's see. I want to look this up real quick.
Sure. And I guess while you're doing that, I'll go with my history. It's the same as Sprinks essentially. I never heard of it, never seen it before this. When Sinister pitched it, I looked it up on LetterBoxd and read the description, and I'm like, all right, this already feels like a Sinister pick. So that's when I then proceeded to tell Sprinks, because I didn't even want him to get plot details on this, to just go in completely blind. Because
Yes.
the description on Letterboxd pretty much says the entire movie. It's a terrible summary. It just says the whole movie.
I think the goal is to get people to avoid watching the film. That's probably the sinister goal behind it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, this movie definitely leans more in the category of The Seventh Seal over African Queen.
Yeah.
The Sinister
Yes.
picks.
And alright, your history.
So quick on the Lake Michigan monster. I haven't seen it, but I actually have heard about it several times before, and I have seen the trailer to that one. So that is in my
Like a meme came out of it.
Yeah, that one is definitely on my radar. Somehow. All right, my history with this. I know nothing but the time period that we are in.
All right, fair enough. We'll jump into the facts section, of which there are not many. I could not find much of anything.
Shocking.
Yeah. So I will go over the budget, which I had to do some math, so I'll go with the order I found it in. It was £300,000, which then I converted to USD, which is about 403,000, and then I put through an inflation calculator on that to 2013, so it was roughly $558,000 USD at the time.
Okay.
I can believe
Very,
it.
very under budget. Yeah, it's definitely a small budget movie.
And with a global box office of 130,000 USD.
I'm surprised this even
So
had a theater release,
didn't make money.
honestly.
I'm surprised it had a global release. I thought maybe it would be like a regional thing, but it had a
It had a
global.
global release. I still feel like it was select theaters then.
Probably. I mean, this is a low budget film.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
didn't see how many theaters it was put in, just that
I
it
can
had a
believe that.
domestic and global box office.
I see.
They utilized a $20 Holga Canon lens for several of their shots. Yeah, really going deep on these facts.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah. Uh, the film was released simultaneously in theaters, stores, and TV, July 5th of 2013.
Oh,
I see. That definitely probably ate a little bit
well, that
into
hit.
the. Yeah.
Yeah, that hits the theater stuff.
Mhm. And there you go. That's the facts.
Wow, cool.
Well, there was one that I'm like, why is this even a fact that I found? It's like, did you know there was no women on screen in this movie? I'm like, wow, great fact.
That's a
Good
Yeah,
very
fact.
you fact to say, though.
it did not, in fact, pass the Bechdel test. Yeah, I agree with
No.
that.
It does sound like a crimson fact, though. It is one I found online.
Yeah. Only other fact I think, take it with a grain of salt, audience, if it's true or not, just something I looked up as I logged this movie, that the director of this film also directed the Meg 2,
That's a
like the second one.
wild connection.
That's so random. But yeah,
They went on to do a big budget film. Wow.
Well, I
All
think
right.
from what I've heard, a lot of people didn't like the Meg 2, but
I heard nothing about Meg 2. That one kind of just came and went. Was that 2024 or 2025?
oh, great question. Couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I
I'm
haven't
going to
seen it.
guess
I don't know.
2024. With that, we will jump into the coverage. We are going to be doing what we call the recap structure, which we tested at the beginning of the year with him and Harry Met Sally, and we had feedback that it was well received. So, trying it again here. I feel like this movie's question heavy more than answer heavy,
yeah,
so
it
this
feels
might fit.
appropriate for this one. So
Works for
We'll,
me.
we'll see how it goes. Reminder for what this entails is we're pretty much just asking questions the whole time uh, to each other, whatever.
Yeah. If you have
That
any additional things to add, we can put it in the recap.
yeah, this is definitely one of
or
those films. Like I feel like we all three of us saw a different movie, which is kind of a rarity.
yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see.
see
Actually,
how it goes.
I could believe that Crimson and I saw a different movie.
It's possible. All right, let's start with writer.
All right, I'll start us off a little light. Is there magic?
Wow,
Such
a little light.
That was
no,
a
it's
joke.
tricky. Um,
While you guys think about it, I can go give my take on this.
Sure.
is
And this is
I'm just questioning: is Faye magic?
I would consider Faye to be in the context of this. Yes, I would say Faye is magic. The
Then
reason
I say yes.
yeah, the reason I also happen to lean yes, there are some things that if I were taking the film strictly like at face value, that I would still argue magic's a thing. But I know because have fucking studied English mythology because I'm Lord of the Rings obsessed, so I wanted to go see what inspired Tolkien at some point in my life. Um, the Hadron Wall is kind of synonymous with hedges. Have you guys ever seen Stardust?
I have not, but I've heard of it.
No.
Okay. Uh, I will, without spoiling too much about the world building in that, and this is very much derived from English mythology in that film as well. There's a wall or a hedgerow that's often used to separate the modern world from the world of like the Fae or the world of magic or everything like that. Which is why I think they start the
Secret Garden.
film. Yeah,
Secret. I was thinking brick wall in Harry Potter, the Diagon Alley wall.
I guess that could work too. But yeah, they use that a lot in English mythology to kind of separate the I guess the distinctive realms. So in this instance, for me, I took it's a liminal space, the gateways between the human world and the dangerous slash supernatural other world. So it's a boundary between what England is currently going through in that in that period of history and what's going to happen to our characters.
I see. But hexing and cursing and that manner of uh, stuff, I would say, is magic. So
Okay. And for me, I'm leaning magic, but it's it's confusing because they show like mushrooms, and
Yeah,
initially they showed them while they like entered the field, and I thought they were just rocks. But then later we see the line again, and it's actually mushrooms. So I'm like, okay, so they consumed mushrooms when they had dinner the first night there. So everything's kind of just like a hallucination or play of the
oh,
mind stuff.
drug
yeah,
But
trip.
that's what I thought. But then the beginning of the film had him looking into like the fog and saw two people there, and he referred to them as shadows. Later, after the movie, I rewound and went back, like, okay, so that's his two friends there. Which now, this was before any mushrooms were even passed
introduced.
or consumed.
You also have to
So
remember he
now I'm
didn't.
leaning there's magic.
Yeah, so you also have to remember he also didn't consume any mushrooms. He didn't eat the dinner. That was a big part of the
Right.
film. So there's definitely I okay, this ties kind of a little bit into Wiccanism as well. I think mushrooms are obviously tied to like the Fae and the paganism, and the in when you're a practitioner, in the same way some people can't like do specific tasks unless they're drunk. People find it easier to do magic because they can believe in something that's less tangible if they're high, on shrooms, or drunk, etc. Because that helps, separate your cognizant dissonance. Like you can disillusionate yourself from reality a little bit more while you're under the influence. So I took a lot of at least when Whitehead was like eating mushrooms in the field to try to power up or whatever. I took that as he was doing that to kind of help himself like disassociate a little bit more from reality in order to kind of more firmly believe in it almost.
Yeah, and maybe I'm incorrect. I'm not too up to date on my fun guy knowledge, but you can still be affected by mushrooms by the spores, right? You don't have to actually consume mushrooms. If
That is
you're in
true.
a mushroom latent area, you can be affected by it.
Yes, though that's usually very conditional because if the shrooms are being boiled like they were, you won't get many spores out of them.
Well, I just mean they're in an area that has shrooms everywhere, and you got the throughout the film a lot of like haze in the grassy fields.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
It's
I mean,
possible.
they deliberately make it pretty gray of
Yeah.
the events here.
I do think the symbolism supports that there's magic. I think there's a couple scenes that need to function with there being a magic system because I don't think Whitehead would hallucinate O'Neill just appearing from a peg in the ground.
Yeah, and then there's the resurrections in this, if they are resurrections, and I'm sure we'll dive into what happened in those scenarios. Um, I will just to establish stuff. What are the names we gave these guys, just so we can
Great question.
get it
Okay,
going?
all right,
Yeah.
I got this. I got this. So, O'Neill, Whitehead, and Cutler are all named eventually, but I've called the guy we meet with who has like a bunch of bottles on his Bran, he's obviously the guy that has an issues shitting, and we get to see his cock later on.
The sick one. Yeah.
Yeah, the sick one. I called him Robber because he was grave robbing when we first met him, and then the I should you not. He's credited as friend on IMDb, but I just called him singer because he's the only one that sings a song.
Interesting. I had the shitter as squire and the friend as peasant.
And I had the sick one as mouth and the other one as dummy.
All right. So who
All
are
right.
we settling on for the rest of this podcast? So we don't.
I'm good with singer and squire.
Okay, Singer and Squire, and then we have Singer, Squire, Cutler, O'Neill, and I just called him Priest for the most time, but it's Whitehead.
Yeah, I had him as scholar for most, and then I went, oh, he has a name.
Yeah.
I wrote him as coward the whole time.
Coward works. Yeah.
Yeah, it does work, and that actually does have a payoff at the end, so fair enough.
But in one vein, they kind of all are cowards.
To some degree, yes. Let's go to the ale house. Ready? Sparks, you got a question?
Sure, I got one. Is this a horror movie?
All right. So I looked it up because I had to tackle that myself.
As upon
It's
finishing,
listed.
I think there's one scene that I would say that's a horror scene, like horror elements.
It's listed
Everything
as a
else is
psychological horror, is what it's listed as.
okay.
So the fact that they're all going crazy and are on shrooms, I guess, is what's considered the psychological aspect of it.
I can see it falling under psychological horror. I completely forgot horror was the genre that was the wheel picked for us, so I didn't get it. I didn't give a hint of that here.
Yeah, I just went. Does this? I can see elements of why it would fit. And upon logging it, I double checked. I'm unsure if Sinister has seen this movie himself.
I did consult in him like a day or two ago, asking that very question. He has seen parts and he knows of it, but he has not seen all of it.
Okay.
He might have by now because he said he did want to watch it. So who knows now?
Because that was the one thing I had going into this movie, is that it's a horror movie. And upon finishing it,
Yeah.
I questioned, is it? There's aspects of me thinking it could have been like a religious horror by how much how much Whitehead is like a big Christian, and then O'Neill is very devilish in nature, and how they go about each other, and then resurrection instances and stuff like that made me think like, oh, is this like a religious thing? I thought for a while. I think as we said, the Fey circle mushrooms kind of gives more of like what's actually happening. But I thought the possibility, I think about half hour into the movie, that this was like purgatory, and then they're kind of stuck because they're deciding between, are they holy enough to go to heaven, which would be Whitehead because he's like, he says he's Christian, but it seems like he questions a lot of stuff. And then O'Neill is the devil of like, is he not going to hell for some reason? Like they're just like all stuck on this plane. Had me questioning. I'm like, by the end of the movie, I didn't think that anymore. But
No, but it's a fair thing to think about when you're definitely going through it for a first time. Because I could definitely see the interpretation of why you thought that was they were in purgatory. It's definitely, you get a lot of the sense of like, I don't know how better phrase this right now, but like you get a sense of that nothing's happening, like they're stuck, even though they're moving.
a
So
bit,
I also
especially from the beginning of the movie, coming from
yeah.
war, and like the singer, like coughing up, like thinking he's dead, but then he's not. Made me think
Yeah.
like, oh, he just came into the afterlife or something. Like they all died in war.
Yeah, there's definitely an aspect of that that you get through, that you can get thrown into. I did like that Squire and Whitehead were evidently on opposite sides, at least at the beginning.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, they have an exchange that kind of make it explicit that they were on opposite sides of the war.
Is Cutler
Oh,
and
mhm.
Squire also on opposite sides?
Judging by the uniforms, I would guess so, but I don't know because I don't really. I think Cutler would have reacted a bit more to. I feel like that would have been pointed out. I guess.
Okay, I'm just thinking like Cutler sides with O'Neill and Squire does not.
Yeah, well, Cutler is subservient to O'Neill. That comes across like Cutler was like uh his man almost.
It did kind of feel like that. And
In
I was having such a hard time separating Cutler and Squire in the beginning of
They
this movie.
they wear very similar outfits.
yeah.
So many times where I'm like, oh shoot, which one was that? Uh,
Yeah. I think it works. I picked up Squire sorry, Cutler more because Cutler has a more distinct like vest than Squire did. So
Squire's
I
far more vulgar.
yeah. But I agree, it's not exactly easy to follow at least at the beginning of the film.
do
Whoever was
you guys?
sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say my joke was gonna be whoever was supporting Cromwell is who I'm supporting in the war.
Yeah.
The Cromwell family. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say the just for to give some historical context for those who might not know, this is taking place during one of the English civil wars. I don't know which one, but the basics is the monarchy has either been exiled and is trying to make a comeback, or the the English Parliament is trying to still hold on to its power during the English Revolution. So that is the
And there's your
historical
history.
backdrop. Yeah, that's the historical backdrop for all this.
All right. My question is, does this film benefit being black and white? And I guess I'll go. The I think it is better for it. I'm I'm trying to picture this all in color, and I feel like it kind of misses a little bit of the heart of what the film is. What do you guys think?
I think black and white aids to a older look of film and like an out of date feel, so that connects to the time period of where it's being placed, but also with the emptiness of the backgrounds and landscape. There's nothing really you need to attach color to really to stand out or pop. And I think the black and white actually kind of aids a little more if you want to go into the color theory aspect of it, of like there's the good side and the bad side, and then they just kind of go against each other a lot throughout the whole film of that. So I think it does aid.
I'm probably going to ask you to expand on your color theory bit a little bit more, Sprinks, in a few moments. But as far as whether I think this benefits, I would say it does strongly benefit because there's a lot of instances where I think the color would have taken away from the charm of the film. Um, it being in black and white further cemented the historical context for me because obviously there's not very many like movies made that talk about the English Civil War, and this doesn't really talk about it, but it's still adjacent, and it kind of helped. It makes it feel older, uh, in the sense of like where these characters are and how they're dealing with everything, and also I think it all the black and white helps with the I want to say kaleidoscopy feel of the magic that's usually on display. Trying to picture that in color would be like going through, you know, Doctor Strange getting kicked out of his body in Doctor Strange 1 kind of feel. But here it makes it feel like an older interpretation of what magic could look like.
And I can see what you're throwing out there. You wanted to probe Sprinks' color theory?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you if you can expand on it. Because I think I
Yes,
sort of
just
I see what you mean. Because but I've at least, sorry. Let me explain my position on that real quick. Where I'm sitting with that is like I can sort of see the baseline you're working with. I'm not sure I have mental evidence. Does that make sense?
yes, just going with the idea that the I guess I guess that black cloak, the black cloak that Whitehead wears at the beginning of being cowardice and kind of shunning from his actions and duties, which is a bit sinful act in the heart of war. And then that cloak gets bestowed upon O'Neill, who's very devilish in nature. Made me question if he is the devil actually in this movie, but I think he's not. I it's hard to tell exactly if he's possessed or not, but he does have mortal being to be able to be dead at the end. Um, but I
He's
just saw it like
definitely
that black cloak.
evil. Yeah.
Yes, I just saw that black cloak is like the darkness that overtakes someone or holds onto someone to do bad actions, and I guess the hat to go with that. Now, if it was in color, it can be black to begin with, anyhow. But just being black and white and everything else is that gray or white coloring. That black really stands out. It's like a big eyesight to it, which kind of also goes with Whitehead when he sees whatever that black circle is that he thinks is coming. Um, so I see that as just like an evil presence, and then all the white uh, of coloring in the film is more of that holiness or good intention kind of feel. Like when Whitehead's out in the field, and the field's very bright and lighting, and then when he changes his clothes, he still has like that white frill on his arms to stand out. And then the other characters like Squire and Singer and Cutler, they don't exactly have really defining dark clothing or very bright clothing, which puts them in the gray area, which I think
I would say Squire does by the end. I think he starts out wearing a black gray cloak over his like his white clothes, and then by the end when that's shed and he's having a he and Whitehead are working together to kind of outwit O'Neill. I think he at that point he is wearing white.
okay. So same could be then put onto Squire. I don't remember the cloak he had at the beginning,
Well,
but
it's
that
not
could fit
really a
too
cloak.
of
It's just a big
being
jacket. Yeah.
okay. That could fit too of leaving war. Um, but yeah, I just kind of saw it in that vein, possibly.
All right. That's my question.
Right. What do you guys think is this film's greatest strength? Being, I guess, the setting, the characters, whatever. What's its greatest strength? Springs, you can answer first.
The greatest strength of the film, like in the film
Yeah, the construction of the film
construction. Okay, I think the
could be the
greatest.
writing of the characters. It could
Gotcha.
be
I see what you're asking.
camera,
I think the
whatever.
greatest strength of this film is the cinematography.
All right, that's my answer as well.
I think the shots is the best thing of this movie and how it's shot. And there are some really damn good looking shots. My favorite shot in the whole film, I think, is when O'Neill's out in the field
And with the
and
spider web
he's
around him.
with a spider web around him, like he's a
Yeah.
spider looking for food or something. That I think is the best shot.
Yeah, that's also my favorite shot of the film as well. Um, I think I have two answers for this actually. So the cinematography, I think, would be my pick as well. But in addition to that, the cinematography lulls you into what I think is ended up being a good strength of the film, which is its pacing. It's very very deliberately slow. My example for this would be the Whitehead emerging almost ghoulish from the tent after screaming his head off because of whatever O'Neill was doing to him. And that's obviously very, very, very slow. Just like him walking with the rope attached to him, like as he leaves the tent. I think the cinematography almost feeds into the pacing of this, which is very rare when that happens. The it's filmed in such a way that it doesn't make the film to me feel very very slow. It makes it feel like I guess I would say that with the lack of better words, it makes it feel more artistic.
It does feel artistic. I'll give you that much. I'm curious how long this film would be without the slow-mo added. There's a lot of
Probably.
slowed down shots in
I
this,
feel like
Yeah.
5 minutes would be taken out.
possibly.
I guess it depends. Are you counting like the parts where they're posing before the film continues as bits
It's a
of
weird
slow
thing.
mo? Yeah.
That can be a question
Picture
of itself.
poses or something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think it would
I wouldn't
probably
call
change
that
by.
slow mo.
Yeah. It would probably change like maybe 5 to 10 minutes, maybe. Not like a Zack Snyder movie where if you remove all the slow mo, it shortens the length of it by like an hour, maybe two.
Shots fired.
Listen, I
All
may
right.
be annoyed with
Uh,
Ryan, but I will always be a Zack Snyder hater.
always. Uh, let's see. Yeah, I agree. The cinematography I think is the best. Almost like every shot with O'Neill looks cool. At least when he's fully
Well,
in frame. Maybe not the close-ups, but the in frame stuff
yes,
looks pretty cool.
I think the
I
only I
agree.
think the only bad shots are the close-ups of O'Neill specifically.
Was I
No, I
the only
think
one
those.
that thought he was Peter Stormare or related to him? Because I had to look it
No,
up.
I
He
didn't think it was
sounded
Peter
like him. He
Stormare.
looked like him.
No, he reminded me of the guy. I forget his name. I think he's another Irish actor. He played Galactus in the Fantastic Four film, the newer one. But he was also the uncle in Ready Player One. But he was the soldier in the Willow TV show. That guy.
That's him. I
Uh,
knew I seen him
No,
somewhere
no, no, no.
before.
That's not
That's what he
him.
reminded.
That's what I thought it was, or who I thought O'Neill was. His voice
I
does not match, but his face looks similar.
I see.
Sprinks, you got a question?
Oh boy, what question do I go to? I guess it was just another instance for Sinister, which could be because Crimson, you brought up how Sinister told you that he's seen bits and pieces of this film. This film does have a couple shots of like very close up eyes, which is very reminiscent to Sam Raimi. And to me, that gave me like an element of the feel of like what Sinister appreciates, because he greatly likes the works of Sam Raimi. So I didn't know if you guys picked up like a parallel to that.
I mean, I can see what you're talking about, pun intended. Um, eyeballs. Uh, I didn't directly correlate that when I saw it on screen, but I could see the parallels you're drawing. And I mean, Sinister, he really likes independent, low budget, creator focused films, and this kind of felt that way, even with the budget.
Student filmy feel, and this certainly had a student film feel.
Uh, I feel like it's a step above, maybe like a college student thing. Ryder, you got to answer to Sprinks' question.
Funny enough, as we was prepping for the podcast, I did come across a comment that said something along the lines of this was inspired by some of Sam Raimi's visuals or things like that. So now that it's been pointed out to me, I kind of see it. I definitely. I mean, my history with Sam Raimi's like early works is obviously Evil Dead and stuff like that. Um, there's definitely some aspects of that here in terms of just the this thing sound really weird. I guess the feeling of it. I didn't notice anything specific though. And the outside of the eyes, as you say, they like to focus on the eyes.
Okay.
Ryder.
Alrighty, let's see. What's another good question? Um, I'll ask. Uh, what's your favorite scene?
Sprinks, you can go first.
Mm. Favorite scene. Oh, that's tough.
Is it when he's inspecting?
Nope,
Oh,
nope, it's
shoot.
not that.
What did we call him?
Squire. No,
Squire.
it's not that. My favorite scene might be when they're eating the soup before they pass the mushrooms.
Yeah, we got our
And
campfire scene, except it was just them sitting around in soup.
yes, and then talking about like what mysterious meat are we eating because they're unknown, and that food's just there, don't know where it came from, which added to the mystery of it. And Squire bringing up to Whitehead that you're full on curiosity instead of food, which I thought was a pretty good line in response. But just like more of the characters in that way, and we learn about the sickness that Squire has. Um, where seeing her, I just think someone taking a shit to be like boy or girl was pretty funny. Um, so I think that overall, I guess, is my favorite.
I mean, we definitely get a blast of what all the characters are like there. So at least a little bit.
Mine would be, I guess, after the shrooms are consumed at the big shroom consumption. um, when we see like the tent getting blown away and focus on the field with the wind gusting over everything. I liked the visuals and all of that. The seizure stuff um, went on for quite a while. But I kind of put that past the scene I'm describing. I kind of consider that its own thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a slow build because once you get the mushrooms, you get the sense that he's fighting back, and you get to see like the one only like a small portion of the field blowing, but as like he's quote unquote gathering strength. If we were gonna put this in like in like magic terms, then you can cut back to the field and a larger portion of it's blowing. You know, so I guess
Then I shall become it.
yeah,
He delivered that pretty well.
he did. Yeah, I felt that one in my bones a little bit. Um, I think my favorite scene might be because this kind of goes into psychological horror a bit, but it's Singer and Squire listening to Whitehead scream in the tent. It's definitely in this case of like not showing is what makes it stronger and works better. Like, cause
I
even
mean, that's the horror scene of this movie.
yeah, I would say for Squire, he's pretty I wouldn't say he's cowardly. I would say he's definitely he's got better nerves than most of the others. And so to kind of see him slowly crack during that scene was pretty cool. And then obviously he was
Well, he
just
does
given
try to
liquor.
intervene.
Yeah, because he couldn't stand the screaming, and that makes sense.
Yeah, and then Cutler flintlock pistol whips him.
Yeah, and then Cutler gives him alcohol, which is I guess is a nice touch.
Yes, but that's got to be some cursed alcohol, right?
Possibly.
Cursed alcohol.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think when O'Neill like force feeds it to Whitehead. He's like, "Let the devil in," but it's the same bottle. Made me think that there's something in this that is devilish or sinful, which maybe is
The alcohol
what calmed Squire.
isn't alcohol like a devil thing by itself.
The consumption of alcohol is against the holy house in
Yeah.
situations,
So I think
but
that's all that really was. At least that's how I read it.
okay, I just see it more within the area of the Fae by this tent, within the circle, that this alcohol did not come with them. They did not log it with them like from the campfire or previously, so they found it here. So to me, I thought it was possibly hexed.
I can sort of see that. I think my interpretation of it is just at least my interpretation of it was just very surface level. He was just given alcohol to help kind of numb the fact that he was just listening to Whitehead scream.
True, but is the alcohol the reason for Whitehead to cough up ruins or to vomit ruins?
No, I had that's for me that I didn't take that as um part of that aspect. I'm focusing mostly on just on the how it affected Squire. Though I guess if I were to connect it to that scene, it's kind of played off like those. in a weird way, it's played off that everyone has runes inside them, kind of. But I wasn't entirely sure what to make of that scene, other than that it was
Interesting. I didn't get that everyone has them. I saw it
I
as
just
like
don't get
a
the runes.
form. I thought it was a form of protection to not have the devil be cast upon Whitehead to protect him, because then the devil didn't recognize it as a form of like protection because Whitehead didn't turn upon taking alcohol. That's why I saw like Squire taking alcohol calmed him to not intervene anymore for Whitehead, and he actually kind of went along with O'Neill parading Whitehead around.
I guess
And
that
then
would
it's the
be.
same bottle
I guess that works. I would.
because O'Neill seemed to know what that alcohol or wine or whatever was going to do by, I don't think he hexed it himself, but just saying like let the devil in, like open up and let the devil in while trying to force feed Whitehead.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely see the religious aspect of it, obviously, which is alcohol in this case is kind of a playing the role of the devil, temptation, what have you. Uh, but I don't know. I guess I never took that as the how the runes appeared in him, though it could be because through I guess another way to interpret it from that I guess would make more sense of what I saw is that the the alcohol is an elixir of magic, but it's combines with Whitehead because Whitehead is supposed to be special. Even O'Neill admits that he has stronger abilities than him in certain areas, and it's those two together that kind of make the runes.
Hmm. Possibly. I guess that's the best I can go with.
Yeah,
I'm thinking, yeah. I mean, my stance is the same. I think it's just alcohol. um, I've been thinking whether this whole thing is like a loop. Like O'Neill's talk, not O'Neill. Coward was
Whitehead.
saying he Whitehead would be one with the the field, and perhaps he did before. Because when we get through the journey of the movie, the tent is already there. The hole that is eventually dug has skeletons in it, or a skeleton. And in the beginning of the movie, we see his friends already in the field, and the fog is referred to as shadows, and then later refer to themselves as shadows. So I kind of feel like it's just a loop where they just keep going through the same journey. Because even by the end, Whitehead goes back to the battle and just stands there with his friends, possibly be seen by another him to go through the cycle again.
well, if we're taking the hedge as them going into Narnia, and they could just be stuck within a cursed loop, which is possible. I don't not going to dismiss that interpretation because I'm not sure the the level of I guess the level of which it would be a loop.
Like
Um,
reality.
yeah, my guess is just reality is segmented off at the hedge just based on mythology, but I am not sure about that because there are parts where it kind of feels like they're still in reality, quote unquote.
Yeah, we just don't get any interaction with the outside world. It's just this area.
Other than the one, I guess, general looking for Whitehead who dies.
Yeah, the mercenary guy, uh, Cooper. No, that's not what it was.
I didn't write
I
down
don't
his name.
remember.
Cutler.
No, no, the
No,
guy
Oh
that
no,
got
the
no,
one on
this.
the
speared.
horse.
Yeah, yeah, the guy that died. Okay.
But I got Crimson for that being in a loop. Possibly. Nothing, I guess, states that it isn't, but I don't know.
Mm.
I guess that can go into a question. Is it, how detrimental do you find it that the movie is very cryptic on what is happening?
It's a hard one because I'm usually pro at least drop hints, and I feel like this doesn't even do that. But I feel like it's justified here that it's not required. But it's kind of hard for me to rationalize it.
You think it's enough for them to be pulling on a rope
I
that's a totem that turns into a body?
see. There's that and the runes. Those are the two big things for me that I feel like maybe a hint could be helpful. Everything else, I'm okay being pretty mysterious. But the runes don't add up to me. They don't correlate to anything. They just get stacked on the pages at the end as he walks away. They're like paperweights. Um, so maybe I have more of a hint towards the correlation of what those do, and yeah, the what you said with the post.
Yeah, they're just
Totem.
pulling on a rope, and I go, What are they pulling? Did I miss a scene? What happened here? And then it shows that like the rope is going around a ruin or a totem that was shown previously. I guess its first instance of being shown is in the first, I don't know what they call it, the portrait statue shot of them, and then it turns into O'Neill.
Yeah, so I think those two instances would be benefited from at least a hint.
I think I'm kind of with you, Crimson. I don't really know what I would need explicit answers on, but I feel like there's some hints would be nice in places because it's very much an abstract movie. So I'm not sure what the level I would find acceptable or not because the charm of the film is reliant on just how non committal it is. Um, I just thought of another reason why the runes might be there. It's possible that Whitehead might have swallowed them. No, he didn't recognize them. Never mind.
Yeah, they never showed anything upon
Yeah,
consumption of them.
Yeah, well, he doesn't recognize them, right?
yeah. He told O'Neill that he didn't
Him
recognize
or
him.
O'Neill. Yeah, neither
Yeah.
one does.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of ruins my thought process with that a little bit, but it's fine.
No, I took it as like being that no one recognized the runes, that it's because of the Fey circle or something connected to that, that it's some otherworldly thing that they don't
I
recognize.
the you know, see the reason what I was going to say is that there's been interpretation of magics. Like I think of how magic is portrayed in other things. One of the things that popped into my head was I remember characters swallowing a magic gem in order to deal with an onslaught of curses. So I was wondering, like, if he didn't swallow anything, obviously, but I wonder if that was like his body's natural like defense against curses, maybe. Given that he's supposed to be somewhat of a powerful practitioner, but I'm not entirely sure. Again, it's very very vague.
Yes, I guess
That's
this
one where
falls
I think
into
they'd have to change
to,
his response. Sorry,
Yeah,
continue.
to yeah, to me it falls into the unknowing situation of like what's going on with when we covered men, of not fully knowing what's happening around, versus something that we have not covered on the podcast but we've all seen, that is a little similar to me, of the movie The Ritual.
I think the ritual is better than this in Men with the I guess the mystery. I think they explain more in that one once they get to the village and talk about the creature, I suppose. But
True,
it
but
is
I
still
think
a great
even
movie.
with the explanation in Ritual, it doesn't lose the charm of what the movie is. Kind of going with what
True.
Ryder said, that if like possibility of more explained could lose its element of charm. And I think if they overhanded or give a whole expedition dump, not expedition,
Exposition.
exposition.
exposition. Thank you, exposition dump in a scene. I think that would be very very force-handed and kind of onto the audience of watching the film to be a little dumb and slow to pick up of if they think they need that. But more sprinklings and hints, I think, of understanding more so of what's going on, and maybe the director writer already thought, not you writer, but the writer of the film thought
Yeah.
maybe what they had was already enough to express, but
I mean, there's enough definitely to generate ideas for almost everything else. I think the rune one, and then the what was the other one that you said, Crimson? It was the runes and
Totem rope bit.
yeah. I think
yep, one on the rope.
those are the only two that I would need more for in terms of hints. The only thing I can think of with the totem one is when it comes back and the kind of seizure editing where it's kind of why it makes it look like the field is closing again around O'Neill, like he won't escape the field.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that editing. I think I'm very middle
It's interesting.
of the road with it because I like what it's trying to relay of like showing like the connection and everything getting tighter and smaller and kind of claustrophobic and the madness of everything that's occurring, but just the way it comes across of like editing everything so wildly, and then they reuse old footage and new shots to combine of like the past, and maybe it's like all the memory is what they're trying to convey, but it's just very quick, and like if you blink you'll miss a whole scene that's being shown. So mm,
Oh, it even shows the future, and part of it of O'Neill turning his head to look at
yeah,
that happens later in the
Yeah.
movie.
it does.
Over here,
It kind of,
devil.
I guess it kind of connects to the scrying mirror because as Whitehead brings it up, it can show like the past, but also possible hints of the future.
Yeah, which leads into what the mirror does. I guess is the question. What does it do? What does it represent in this movie?
I didn't think too much on the mirror itself because it wasn't very relevant to come up at parts.
Yeah, I didn't think much of it until the ending where he pieced it together and pointed it up to the sky. And I'm like, oh, is that what that black circle we've been seeing is representing? It's like looking through the mirror, and this is what's happening.
There's a
Because I don't
line.
know why I would show that.
There's a
Okay, Crimson,
line.
what would that mean?
I don't know. That's why I asked the question. I'm seeing the parallels between
No.
when he looks up at
Yes,
the
but
sky, there's a black circle. He
yes,
fixes the mirror, frames it the same way he would see the circle.
yes. So you're thinking what he sees in the sky, that black thing is in the mirror, or what he
In
sees
the
at the
mirror, or is the mirror some metaphysical thing? Hard to say, but I think it's correlated to the mirror.
okay, and what's your best interpretation of what that means?
What was the explanation of what the scry mirror did when it first got introduced? He
I think it
kind of
shows elements
described
of the
what it.
past, possible, present, or whatever, and then the rarity of the future, or like legend has that maybe the future. I think that's what Whitehead kind of explains.
Yeah, I mean, it could go into the like loop concept where Whitehead. This is all very hypothetical. What I'm about to say. Whitehead went into this field looking for the treasure and couldn't find it, so it became one with the field because with this theory, he brings the little runes that he vomited later. He has the mirror. It kind of looks like he owned everything by the end of the movie here, so it kind of felt like it was him. Um, and then it caused this whole loop thing. And whenever the black circle showed up, that was the mirror being seen at that point. I
So
know it
the
sounds
black,
confusing.
so the blackness of the circle, which is in the mirror, is just a visual representation of the loop.
Yes, I suppose so.
Okay.
There was no treasure, right? Because I have a comment on this as well.
The treasure was the friendship
Not
they
where
made
they
along the
dug.
way.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So there
The
was
treasure was a skull.
yeah. Alas, poor Yorick. I knew him well. They there was a line that kind of support your theory here, Crimson, that Whitehead was one of his means of getting out was to kind of lie where the fucking grave was or where the treasure was. So there's a I don't remember when the line was, but there's an implication that he planned ever since he got captured, he planned all the rest of this as a means of getting back out from under O'Neill's thumb. I don't remember
And
where
he
the
he'd
line
lead him
is.
to the grave.
Yeah,
However, he ended up doing that.
yeah.
I don't know, it just feels like Whitehead's kind of the orchestrator.
Definitely by the end, I would definitely say that there's interpretations of it. One, he's the one that started the loop, he planned everything, or he's the one who ultimately won at the end because he finished his character journey. Because you have obviously the sense of cowardice that's the main character trait for him. This is at service level, right? He's a coward. That's why he left the battlefield, and he, by the end, worked up enough courage to at least face O'Neill and kill him.
Then head back to the battlefield.
Yeah. So there is a through line for his character in either way, where either he was the mastermind who helped orchestrate the loop, etc., whatever's going on the magical end, but also he had the literal character arc of the film. I think him and Squire also.
All right, anything to add to that, Sprinks, or if not, you can bring up a question.
Well, I thought that the black circle that Whitehead sees being that it's not just a solid black circle of like nothing, that he can't see the future, he can't see his past, wherever he is stuck, which would aid more into the purgatory thought, is it's more of a smoke. It's got texture to it of what it looks like, and to me that displayed more of the possibility of madness. That what he sees is fogged and clouded. That it something is there, but he can't see it being where he is of what's coming across. And to connect it to the scrying mirror, I guess, really helps at the end when he pieces together and he's looking up, and then it's like a circle against kind of like the eclipse of the sun look. So that's my interpretation of what I thought out of it.
All right. And you can go on and make a question.
Okay, sure. Let's go to the portrait statue poses. What are those?
Great question. Moving on. No, I'm kidding. I don't really know. I think it's just like an artsy thing. I can't think in the movie why it's really there. It just to feel weird.
My first instance was thinking that they were like portraits, or later we would see portraits of like a drawing, maybe in the credits,
Of
like
their
credit scroll,
deeds.
like old English looking drawings, but it's those shots of like when retelling the stories, you have that one like art look in the page kind of look. I thought those would be lined up for that, but it wasn't, and it just kind of felt like chapter beats, I guess.
Yeah, that was my interpretation after the second one. I'm like, okay, these might be how they break up chapters and segmenting, how they're segmenting in their story. Like we do, instead of cutting to a different scene or cutting to a different, like, fading to black, we have this, which
Yes.
kind of works, even though it's definitely weird.
And there's only 3, right?
I thought there were.
Yes.
I wonder if they're separate acts then. If there's only three.
Okay, I'm like, I think there's only 3, but the third one, it doesn't cut away from the scene. It shows movement through continuing, right? That's one when
Yeah,
O'Neill
like the
takes
hairs moving
Whitehead
and stuff.
in the tent.
Hmm.
Well, there's one. There's only there. There is a brief moment where they're frozen outside altogether in the group. Uh, so like there's so that's segmented posing, right? I don't think we get a wide shot of it, but we do have a shot of obviously O'Neill like leading Whitehead into the tent, and then we cut to Singer and Squire like looking on and for like as if bracing themselves to hear them scream, and then I think we get a shot of Cutler just standing there. I don't think we get an overview shot for that one, but we definitely get one with them posing.
Yeah, they're weird because they are just the
Oh,
poses, and then we have the shot of Singer singing at the camera with the
no,
longest fade transition I think I've ever seen.
I
That was
was
pretty long.
going to add on to that. I just remembered. I think Squire breaks the fourth wall as well.
When did he do that?
It's when their Whitehead's being taken into the tent. There's a part where he just looks up, essentially right into the camera, like in the sense like looking for Whitehead, like just to see that Whitehead's getting pulled into the tent.
Possibly, I don't recall.
That is true.
You remember it?
And right, you're
I,
right.
I don't.
There is no wide shot of that third one where it shows everyone in frame.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's just to create like a sense of unease for the audience, like, oh, this is kind of weird, because this is supposed to be a psychological horror, so you got to kind of get the audience involved in it. So I don't know if that's to like offset the viewer a little bit.
It could be. I mean, fourth walls breaks can definitely do that if you time them well and they're very sparse. Because obviously the audience gets numb to it, or they get a very specific expectation if it's someone like Deadpool, whose entire job is to break the fourth wall.
Yeah.
So it definitely could create a sense of unease, and that might be the singular choice of it.
Um, let's see. So we get some male nudity in this. Uh,
In one scene.
some no,
Well, two.
yeah, two. You see peeing, and then in the inspection. Uh, I was caught off guard. I was surprised. I was not expecting that. Were you guys expecting that?
First one coming off guard. At
Uh,
that point, it was kind of all bets were off. I wasn't expecting it, and I wasn't like, but I guess I wasn't like floored by it either, because I'm used to seeing male nudity, and I guess when it comes to films now, because there's a few other artsy films that have done the same thing in recent years.
Crimson, I never go into a movie expecting nudity.
I mean, there's some movies where I can kind of predict it could happen.
Sure,
Yeah.
but don't expect it to happen. But so one instance is Cutler peeing on them. That's nudity.
Yes.
But the other one, is it just Squire's butt? You
No,
don't see
we
his
get
peen.
a
Huh?
yeah, we do. We get a
What?
full on shot of
Yeah.
the peen.
During the
Oh,
inspection, there's
I
like a
completely
lump
missed it.
on it and stuff. What? How?
Oh, someone needs to time night that for Sprinks.
That's actually kind of wild because that's hyper focused on.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
happens twice. There's two definitely full on shots of a penis in this.
Yeah, they show like a bump on it for like the diseases he has.
Absolutely
Weird.
no recollection of ever seeing that.
That's
Well, I'm not gonna look it up to send it to you, so you can do that on your own.
Don't worry, I will. I'll bite the
All right,
bullet for that one.
taking one for the team. Interesting. I don't know. All right, ready? You can throw out a question.
Sure. Let's see. What? So I. What did we think of the Cutler's turn? Because he Cutler's obviously like an enforcer for O'Neill at a certain point, but then it kind of shows that he's no better off than the others. After uh, Singer dies again, and uh, Squire needs to take a break because he's just in tons of pain. And obviously, at this point, Whitehead's just kind of wandered off.
Cutler is such a weird character to me because he just felt background the whole time, and then suddenly he's O'Neill's like right hand guy or just crony,
Well, he
whatever you
felt like
want to
one of the, I
time
felt
it as.
it felt like he felt was like one of the four at first.
Part of the troop. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he kind of took a back seat to O'Neill.
Yeah, and then the whole like peeing and then shooting and killing Singer, just I think that's the laziest part of this movie. It's that part. That just felt so manufactured drama.
I think the well, okay, you first, Springs.
Me first on what the
Thoughts?
manufactured drama of peeing.
No, the manufacturer. I asked about color.
Oh, just cut. Colors. He's fine, I suppose. I don't. That it's the reason of the turn to O'Neill that made me question that he was not on the same side as Squire.
I see. And to get back at what you were saying,
But
Crimson. Oh,
remind me, is it Cutler who, when they find O'Neill's body or drag him with the rope or whatever, that he's the one who goes up and starts kicking him?
he's the one that goes up and to try to wake him up, and then O'Neill starts beating the shit out of Cutler. Yeah.
Okay.
To get back to what you were saying, Crimson, about Color being a confusing character, I think the part of the aspect of the drama that works is that Singer is very, very absent-minded, and that was getting on Squire's nerves the whole movie. So the explosion was like the argument that they devolve into worked for me. It was fine. I think the escalation as to them getting shot was a bit much and very quick. That's kind of where I feel the forced manufactured drama came in. It was towards the end of that scene.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of the shooting in this was underwhelming. Like you get all of the slow mo shots to emphasize anything really in this film, and then the shots are just done. Felt like you got this build up of this moment, then it's like they try to cut away from it as quick as possible.
Budget,
Like
maybe.
Cutler getting shot. That was so quick and just like, oh, well, that's done. All right, moving on. But
I
this whole
think
sequence of him like begging, pleading, "Oh, I'm sorry, I screwed this up."
the one shot, the two shots that I think worked really, really well. Well, actually, there were three I think that worked really well. There is the one where O'Neill gets shot in the leg. The other one where Squire gets shot in the shoulder, and then obviously I think Whitehead's execution was fine. I think the others, though, I would probably agree.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd agree with O'Neill's death. The leg shot was good, but the headshot,
It was very
they
quick,
cut
but I
away
think
from
it
it
was
so fast.
yeah. I think that it was quick, but I think it still works.
It's quick. I think it's fine. Sound effects are good.
Yeah.
To me, that really helps and tells what happened. You know, it didn't miss when you hear the squish of a head explode.
Yes. Do you guys think that Whitehead kind of possessed or did something to Cutler when he was talking to O'Neill before he got shot in the head? Because he was looking and mumbling, and this is when Cutler's making like stupid choices on what he's saying, and it kind of felt to me like he was kind of controlling him.
You think that was like
Because
Snape protecting Harry on the broom?
yeah, it felt like that. Because right before that, they're like, "All right, well, they're both together now. Our chances of escaping is essentially zero." And then, boom, they turn on each other while he's mumbling. It felt like he was playing around there.
I think what Whitehead was doing was some kind of incantation or a spell, being how far he was lost in the madness of the mushrooms at that point. That from previous anything to do with asking God or Jesus for aid or to protect them or whatnot has all been like a full on prayer or a verse or something like that. This time it's very mumbling under his breath. So I still think he had good intentions on what he was doing, but it did come across more so as like trying to do a spell.
So you're leaning it's more an intended spell and less of like a prayer thing.
Yes, because it is differently than any of the past prayers he's done.
Unless he's a cleric, or paladin. Um, I'm also, I guess, in the camp of it being spell related because would make a little bit more sense that Whitehead's was kind of twisting him because we all agree that there's some semblance of magic here, even if we don't understand it. I think that would work, and it would force O'Neill to kill Cutler. Um, the Yeah, I think that's the intention between cutting between him mumbling and him controlling uh, Cutler to take part in his actions. It could also be that Cutler was just handed the shit end of the job stick as well. That might have, or that's again one of those things that could be more ambiguously interpreted.
Writer question.
Oh right. I'm gonna throw out an easy one. Least favorite character.
Cutler. Like I said, I don't really get him, and there's no scenes with him where I'm like, oh, that's funny, or I feel engaged with anything. I think my favorite scene with him was him getting shot in the head. Um, and I think it's not just because he died, but the whole like voiceover stuff that they had where you couldn't hear anything in the background, the wind roaring, it's just voices. I think adds to the scene a little bit. Even though I don't think it's synced perfectly to the mouths, but so be it. So, Cutler.
The guy looking for Whitehead at the beginning of the movie.
Boo, why do you always try to find these like lame side things whenever
It's a
this
character in the
question's
movie.
asked?
Didn't have
That's
a lot to him. He had a name, he had lines. He interacted with the main characters.
and then he died.
Then he died.
Um, I'd probably pick Cutler as well. He comes across, I guess, as a little too generic at the beginning when it's just the four of them. If there was a little bit more to him, it would have. I think that would have helped a little bit.
Sprinks, you can shoot out the next question.
Sure. What do you think happened in the tent?
You took my next one. I got a backup one. Um, I have no idea. It just looks like he got tied up, and we see a moment of like blood drop on grass, but we don't see where the drop comes from. Possibly the mouth, but
That does happen a lot.
He doesn't look physically beaten or anything. So I thought originally, after seeing him throw up the tomes or whatever, that they got shoved into him. But then you would have heard that in the screams like while screaming.
A good
Uh,
sound effect. Wow.
so I don't know what happened to him.
I think the implication is some form of ghoulish possession, but again, that's just based off of what I was seeing. And as we can see, the film likes to do weird things with its visuals.
I think a man of faith was then put inside an enclosed encampment with a devilish individual and was then filled with demons and tried to exit the tent, as we see in a very hexed way, and is tethered to the devil.
So you think he got in some form of possession?
Yeah, I think we
Not,
both agree with something in that
yeah,
form.
not fully possessed, but I think if anyone was possessed in this movie, it's O'Neill, possessed by like the devil or evil or whatever you want to call it. But just in a placed Whitehead in a trance or some kind of difference of being. I don't think there's an entity controlling him or in like overtaking his body.
This is something I think they could do a hint of, or maybe it would be a little bit more than a hint of bringing up O'Neill stealing his like master's books or papers. Be like talking about what type of papers were stolen. Like,
Necronomicon.
sure, like you stole my master's. trance papers or something. Like it could be more of a descriptive thing that he stole, not just he stole his master's papers. Could be the subject that he stole, and that could link towards what happened. Because as it is, eh, there's nothing. There's a lot of theorizing one could have, but there's
Yeah.
nothing
Was it also
for it.
made to then have Whitehead lead them to the treasure? Or was that just to tire out Whitehead, to break him? Because they went in a circle.
Did they? I
Well,
thought
I
that was
thought
a
they were.
different site that they went to.
No, they started at the tent and they came back to the tent.
Hmm. I thought it was a second tent. Um, then I don't know. I've, I don't like that they circled back if that's the case.
Oh, yeah, I saw that as a circle. I just didn't understand why they went in a circle.
I
I didn't know
took
if
it
it was
as
tiring out Whitehead or it's like, oh, the treasure was here the whole time.
I
Thing.
took it as Whitehead collapses. Originally, I took it as Whitehead collapses in the area where the treasure's supposed to be. O'Neill didn't believe it, made him run a distance. Then that distance made a circle, and he arrived back at the same spot. So it confirmed for O'Neill that it was just right there the whole time, in theory.
Okay.
I mean, the camp was already there too, which could imply whoever had the treasure was there to bury it and left their camp.
And that gave me the little instances of feels to the ritual when they come across that cabin.
Hmm.
It's like something's already in this cursed world, but there's no one around.
Yeah, there's no trap door on the floor.
No.
Did either of you catch any continuity errors?
Yes and no, because I can't tell in this film if it's depicted to be a continuity error.
All right, let's hear it.
There's one, I don't even think I wrote it down. There's one of, I believe, Squire looking one direction one way, and the next cut is him looking, his head's turned differently. And it's not lined up to where it was before, even though the conversation of what's place is the same. But I didn't know if that's the next cut is like him actually moving his head between the shots and it's fine, or that's like to depict like the unsettlement of what's happening where they're at.
Okay, yeah, I was just about to ask if, because I don't remember which scene you're referring to. If there was like a time gap between the cuts
I
where
think
it
it's
would make
like
sense he could
during,
turn his head.
yeah, I think it's when Squire and Cena are shoveling. But
Hmm. Okay. Ryder, did you pick up on any?
No, I didn't.
Okay. The only thing I could think of, and it could possibly be explained away, was O'Neill had, gave a shovel, a singular shovel, and now there's multiple shovels in the pit. So I don't know if they just spawned them or it's possibly at the tent, but we don't see them at the tent. And they're the exact same shovels.
oh, odd. Wait, how many shovels in total are you saying?
I think there's 3.
Okay, I know of 2 for sure.
We only had the one confirmed that O'Neill gave before the pit even dug when he slapped him in the face.
Okay, those shovels are from before. Those are when they came across
Yeah.
the tent because they're kneeling outside the tent with those 2 shovels in hand, both Singer and Squire.
Yeah, they're
And
both.
then they go
Yeah,
running around with the shovels in hand, following O'Neill and Whitehead. And then when it's questioned, O'Neill whacks Squire in the face.
yeah. I think those are there.
Okay. I must have
Yeah,
misremembered it
but
then.
a third shovel, I'm on the same boat with you. I don't know where a third shovel came from, unless it was just there at the tent the whole time. But
Okay. Well, not
now,
a
being that you
continuity heavy movie then.
okay, being that you asked about continuity errors, are you going to ask again in the future about further continuity errors?
Not on this one. Maybe in a
Okay,
further
cool.
recap
All right, just want to
movie.
check.
Can't ask the second question
We'll see.
twice. That was funny. Um,
All right, Ryder.
yeah, I'm trying to think of questions to ask now because I think most of my big subjects have been hit. Um, when this is going to be an interesting question, I guess. What was reality and what was magic in your mind during the seizure sequence?
I guess the best magic I can say is things in the future that we haven't seen yet, like when O'Neill turns his head,
Like
hearing
you know that's
Sinner's
for
cry out.
sure magic. Yeah. Okay.
It's I don't know.
I
It's a
also don't
hard
know what that's
question.
trying to. I don't know if it's trying to show what's like in the scrying mirror, like the scrying mirror within a Fey circle, and like that's the like madness that's being shown, or this is like visions in Whitehead's head of what he's seeing, or I can't tell if this is onto a character of what we're picking up and seeing, or this is solely just for the audience to take in of what's happening.
It's not explicit. It's kind of hard to tell, and I don't even know what the mushrooms are really for now that we're kind of leaning towards more magic side of things. Because he eats the mushrooms, then boom, we get this windstorm that is affecting people. So it's not just him perceiving a windstorm. There is a
No, there is a
windstorm.
windstorm. It
Um,
it is taking effect.
so then it leads to me like, what's the point? Ryder kind of talked about like the mushrooms could be like a conduit type thing for strengthening magic or something along those lines. But it doesn't. I don't feel like they represent it like that in this. That the mushrooms are a magic
I
amplifier and that he utilizes heavy magic. I feel like
no no
it's
no. It's
failing if that's what they're doing.
no. I think the instance of that is the beginning where they pick mushrooms and it doesn't actually show like a full line or like give you like a whole hint like oh this is actually like a line or a circle of mushrooms around this location and like just a hint that mushrooms are present and I like that to then be explained later when Whitehead's crawling that it's actually a whole line of mushrooms for a face circle. um that I think is a cool hand in hand like hint to pay off, but the wind I think is just like trying to forcefully push away. I couldn't also tell if because Squire went off on his own to like try to deliver the message that Sinner said to like give to his wife, and he's kind of like pushing the air. I couldn't tell if that's the wind he's trying to fight against, or he's like actually come to like an invisible wall he can't get past. Um, but I do think that the killing of Cutler is like a human sacrifice to cut the wind.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Okay, cool.
I can sort of see that.
The wind just
I'm
kind
trying
of
to think of
throws it out
another
there mentally.
example of a phase circle for you, Crimson, and the only one coming to mind is Spiderwick, where they surround the house.
My problem with these type of theories is that the film doesn't ground what Fey circles are. So it's could be, it could absolutely not be that. It could just be a ring of mushrooms. uh, the movie doesn't say anything nor hint.
Was it stronger in Coraline,
Um,
or just about the same to you?
which cir- what aspect of Coraline? What do you mean?
There's a phase circle of mushrooms around the well.
Oh, that. Well, yeah, we talked about that, and I said that was lunacy. So
Okay.
I think this one's stronger if you're going to go with that. But I still think it's a fault to the movie for not saying anything about it.
You want more of a what's the doctor's name in Evil Dead?
I don't know I don't remember
Crombie?
the name of the doctor.
Fake fan over here, Roby.
Dr. Crump. You say Roby?
I think it's Roby. I don't know.
Dr.
No, I don't.
Roby?
I don't need a narrator to tell me
Okay.
the
I think it's
magic. That's
Crombie.
too
You
bad.
know what?
Senator's not here.
I'll look it up. But like something like that where it's like playing the tape to explain a whole thing about the Fae and everything. You don't need that. What
No,
you're
I mean
saying.
it could even be on like the pages that were stolen, and I mean, it can be something small. It doesn't have to be explicit. But right now,
Nobi.
there's literally nothing. Then there's a ring of mushrooms.
Okay.
What was it?
You're combining both. Dr. Raymond Nobi.
Oh, yeah.
Not bad then, if you're just combining both of them. In terms of what was real, I thought, as far as the Wizard Storm being real, I think in O'Neill getting blown back was real. I also think the destruction of the tent and the campsite was also real. Um, the rest of it's kind of vague because I'm not sure. The visuals kind of play it like the field is swallowing O'Neill back up, but the fact that he's still like in the rest of the film, I'm not sure how I would interpret that. Um, but
Yeah, that
otherwise, yeah,
he's like kneeling.
it's a very very trippy sequence.
Yes, yes, it is. They they do achieve that.
They achieve that it's like a duel of wills as well, I think. So like they do have their will is contesting against each other, but
Uh, I guess since I have to phrase it as a question, what are your guys' favorite costume or look, outfit, what have you?
I'm partial.
Probably
Sorry.
Cutlers.
Yeah, I'm partial to colors because it's closer to the standard uniform used in the English Civil War. In terms of character, though, I have a soft spot for Singer's outfit and O'Neill's outfit.
Yeah, O'Neill's I think is awesome. He looks cool. And that is also to the framing of the camera as well. But he just looks cool whenever he's doing stuff. Kind of reminds me of I don't remember his name, but there's a character in Wednesday for any audience member that has seen it that kind of reminds me of the look here. And,
Funny enough, I know who you're talking about. So
oh, you've seen Wednesday?
I've seen season one. They're in season one, right?
Okay, yeah, yeah, season one. Yeah, similar vibes.
I've
Yeah.
seen Wednesday too. It's when this episode comes out.
Ah,
Oops.
yeah.
But
Cutler's outfit reminded me of the Night Stalker in Assassin's Creed 4 Online.
there was a bit of that.
Wow.
I got a bit of Van Helsing in there too, just because of the long blowing flack, like the silhouette at least.
A bit. Just to backtrack a little. Crimson, did you say wow?
I did. Like that's like a
Wow.
niche reference. The multiplayer to Assassin's Creed 4.
Yeah, I still play the
Yeah.
Wayfarer. That's my main.
That's my go-to as well. Wayfarer. He's so cool looking with the staff and hat.
I based the D&D character off the
All
Wayfarer.
right, don't lie to the audience. You're the dandy. We all know this.
So dandy. No,
It's a
no, I'm no
dandy
dandy.
man.
All right, Sprakes.
Oh boy, I'm getting lower and lower here. Look at my notes. I feel like we've already touched on. Oh, yeah. The sinner coming back to life. Did he ever
That's a
die?
biggie.
Comes back more than fucking Lazarus. That was funny. That was probably my favorite joke of the film.
Yeah, it was good. It comes down to I don't know what's happening in the movie because he comes back after the gunshot wearing different clothes than he died in, I think, and he
Yes,
didn't have blood on his chest from getting
that is also
shot.
true.
So I don't know what happened. I thought it was a
Yeah.
figment, and then they both saw him and
Oh
touched
no,
him
he's
and
there,
interact with him, and yeah. So I have
but
no
we don't
idea
know
what
about his other
happened.
body. We never go back to like where
No,
Whitehead buried him.
they like bury him a mile away from the campsite.
Yeah,
I don't know why they put him all the way over there.
I think this thing is a creature to represent that of their friend. which is
Hmm.
why it draws O'Neill towards them. Because I think after all they've experienced, no way in the character of Singer would uh, backstab Whitehead and
But
Squire like that.
did he see that as a betrayal though? Because he's not the most intelligent of characters, and he looked like he didn't feel like he did anything wrong with it.
Well, he doesn't
Even
call
like we're
O'Neill
not friends
O'Neill.
anymore.
He calls him the devil.
Devil.
To me,
Yeah.
that adds more aid to the evilness in him.
Yeah, that could be one thing. Here's my other interpretation. What if he's angelic? And the reason he does that is to make Squire and Whitehead better people and better characters. Because there's an argument to be made that if uh, O'Neill doesn't know where they are, they could just slip away without him noticing. And
That was a
therefore, they can
negative I
continue to be
had in my
cowards.
notes. Was why did they go back to the camp for the guns when they could just run away?
Yeah. So the angel in this instance, at least in this interpretation, would be making them face what they have to in order to grow.
I don't know how much they could run away.
I mean, it's irrelevant because they don't even try. I think as characters, one being a coward, they don't want to fight, would have at least tried to run away, but there's no attempt of escaping.
Whitehead's the only one I'm not. Again, with this whole movie of like what's up in interpretation or whatever. Whitehead eating the mushrooms but not able to cross over the mushrooms was telling me that they couldn't leave.
We don't see him try to cross over the mushrooms, do we? He just
We
goes
we
up to
see
them
him
and eats them.
stop there, yeah, and then the shots of
So,
Squire are from are upward shots, so we don't exactly see if he's at the cutoff of the mushrooms of what's stopping him with the wind.
so I don't really have any evidence that there is a barrier for them because we don't see them try to cross a barrier. It's just we see a ring of mushrooms. We don't know if there's a wall. And I do think that we should have been shown if there was a wall because I think they should have tried to escape the situation.
Yeah, the only thing I have that's akin to a wall is the hedge, and that's just me pulling from mythology. I would be interesting to get that as a confirmation. The closest thing we have to that is just the Squire being prevented to leave.
By the one that's affecting everybody and everything, anyways.
Yeah. I said it's not a strong defense, but that's the only one I've got.
Yeah. All right, writer, you got any more? Or are you pretty much dry?
I'm I'm pretty much dry. It's mostly just quick observations. I guess what did we think about the character payoffs at the end? There's because for
Okay,
in my mind there's two. Because Squire admitted to being angry with Singer, but he's obviously willing to throw down his life for him by saving him and throwing him under the table, and he gets shot for it. And then obviously you have Whitehead, who's a coward the whole film, you know, sneaking around and actually able to kill O'Neill at the end, ultimately.
I feel like those were earned progressions with those two. I think with Singer charging into his death, which I did find funny,
Yeah.
um, kind of underwhelming in the aspect that it didn't add anything with him, and all you can really say is maybe he added
Go.
to Squire at the top there, but even then, I feel like that's thin. He already grew into seeing him as a friend, anyways.
Hmm.
So him returning, I don't think really adds anything, and which also leads to a negative to me of we don't see O'Neill react to seeing him alive again. He just turns and shoots him, and he's like, "What the heck? I thought you died." Um, in whatever way O'Neill would represent that, but there's no reaction to him being resurrected by O'Neill.
Yeah. The only thing that's potentially useful that comes out of him being back is that he distracts again O'Neill long enough for Whitehead to get into position. Because Whitehead's kind of crawling through the field right now,
Well, yeah,
presumably.
but if Singer didn't resurrect, then you could have just had Squire up there shooting
Yeah,
while Whitehead snuck behind. I mean,
yeah. You like I said, it
his
doesn't change
resurrection didn't
much.
add anything.
Yeah, it just makes the payoff for what Squire's character is a little more uh obvious. No, it's not. It's not the word I want to use, but it's more upfront. Like
Flushed
it's
out.
not. It's less. It's less interpretable that Squire cares about him.
What do you think, Springs?
I'm not 100% sure because of how this movie is, and just like that is the fall into madness of the characters, of how real an arc of them is really. Um, I guess Whitehead is the best one to go with because he quote unquote lives to the end. But I think just I guess a man of faith who's cowardice, who does not put his faith in fully into what he believes to save him in war, to run away, learns that the randomness of people you come across to declare as friends in situations um, bring him into a better faith to return back to war. But even after murdering O'Neill, so he has murdered, he lays down his weapons to face war without them because of the strength of his dead friends. I guess I think he just best I have is that Whitehead got better faith into accepting the chance of death.
All right. And to tack on the additional question I kind of posed of, do you think Singer's resurrection was required or necessary? Did it add impact?
Yeah, no, I think it added an impact. I don't know if it's necessary for like the whole film to declare that way. I think there could have still been Squire and Whitehead to have a conversation while O'Neill's hunting for them, and hidden. The story could have still progressed the same way somehow, but by adding in Singer coming back and being resurrected adds this whole more mystery and I think magic into how he's here, what happened, madness of that. Um, so I think it's interesting of it being added and what does this mean and more into all that, but I would not say it's necessary.
All right.
Especially since no definitive answer came out of where or how this occurred with
Yeah,
Singer coming back.
I'm kind of in the same boat. It's just I think it adds impact. I don't know if it would say it was necessary.
All right. Um, what do you think was Whitehead's plan on uh, retrieving O'Neill?
So
His like whole mission,
His whole mission was to get O'Neill to get him hung with his master without a rope.
yeah, to bring him to his master to for his
Yeah. So
rendezvous.
how was he going to do that?
well, he was tasked with a group of mercenaries that caught up in the battle. So the people he was initially bringing to escort him back to his master all were presumably either dead or preoccupied.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
So
my
he had a group with them to take O'Neill. It wasn't just him being escorted.
yeah, I mean it could be both.
yeah,
Even if he's
he
just him
has.
being escorted, that those people are there under his orders for him to take him into custody. So
Yeah,
Well, when
there
I
is a
when I
his
mean
plan.
mission
escorted, I mean through the
before
battle.
running from that battle. It wasn't like a secret mission only to himself that he had to like manipulate others into aiding him.
Okay. Fair enough.
I
I guess I
suspect
just
that
didn't
with
remember him bring up having a group.
well, I
He
suspect with Singer, Squire, and Cutler, he believes that these four together now will aid him in getting O'Neill.
yeah, I
Sure,
mean
that part, yeah.
Yeah, I think most of his group is left on the either his group or his one mercenary guy that was with him was left on the other side of the hedge, and obviously we see what happens to one of them. I don't know if that was the only one, or if that was just one of the group, because they say that he's a mercenary, so I presume he either was going with the one person to arrest him, like, and obviously that said mercenary would be in charge of all of, like, arresting him, pretty much. So there, it's not too far fetched for me. I guess he's just obviously his plan goes off the rails due to the battle. So beyond that, I don't know what his plan is. I think he's just trying to play up on his what he views to be the gentlemanly honor of another English gentleman or lord or in the other Civil War. So when he's like saying I need to take you into custody and just kind of gets laughed off.
Okay.
I'll let you know I only have 2 questions left.
I have none.
I'll shoot out another one then. So, do you think it's believable that O'Neill managed to hit Squire from 70 yards away with a flintlock?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's see. Where are we in the? Oh, just fucking. I need to look at my. I'm gonna look at my dates real quick.
Flintlocks aren't. They're notoriously inaccurate.
Yeah, no, but there's a
Also,
difference
are
between
these
flip. No, no, so right, I'm just making sure we're past the era of matchlocks, because if we were in matchlocks, I would say hell the fuck no. But if we're using proper flintlocks, then it's not impossible. It's just difficult.
are these also accurate weapons? These flintlocks look rather large.
Yeah, no, flintlocks were very large during the English Civil War.
Okay.
Now, the 70 yards is kind of what I'm caught up on because that's pretty far for an accurate shot with one of these.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just rereading up on it. These are much more reliable and safer than matchlocks. Okay, yeah, we're firmly in the area of flintlock muskets and flintlock pistols. Okay. Um,
Well, can you look up the range of accuracy for
sure.
I
those?
think for the sake that the pellet punctured Squire but didn't go all the way through him also helps.
Because I can believe the one in O'Neill's leg, because it was a it was a rifle. It's meant to go farther.
Yeah.
But the
English
pistol
war.
one,
Yeah. It's English wars flintlock muskets. This is muskets. Let's see. Where's sorry. Uh,
something I should have looked up because I did have that in my notes.
yeah. I think we're fine with muskets. I'm trying to find the flintlock one. Yeah, because muskets can go from 100 to 150 yards. I would imagine flintlocks are probably less than that, given that there's less barrel for rifling. But I'm not sure how much they rifled back in the day. They rifled their barrels. Sorry. Uh,
Well, the early flintlocks and muskets didn't have rifling in them,
yeah, but we're
so
like I said, we're past that era. We're past the matchlocks. So,
yeah.
uh,
And then I guess on the topic of the guns, we have Whitehead talk about he doesn't even know how to operate a weapon, and then he reloads one. So I don't know if that's
he's
just
probably seen it done. I but it's kind of half and
He does
half for
declare
me.
he has no knowledge on weapons.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, everything I'm saying is that it's reliable up to 50 yards. After from 50 yards to 100 yards, it's less reliable but still possible. And then beyond that, you need to do mass volley firing to ensure death. So
Less
it's in the
reliable
plausible
but
range.
possible.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's going to
All
be
right.
the
Well, I
breakdown I
can
got for
accept
you.
that.
Uh,
All right, Sprinks, let's go with one of your two.
Did Whitehead go back to war to die?
I think it lands on what we think happened in the movie. Because if we're going with the loop concept that I pitched, I think he's going there to complete the loop and start the cycle again. But if we're not going that, and he's out of the phase circle, as you guys have been putting it, which I don't know why you could get out now. Then yes, I think he's there to fight for Queen and Country, I guess. Whichever side he may have been. Maybe it wasn't
I'm
Queen
like,
Country.
okay, I don't think he's there to fight. He lays down all his weapons before climbing the hill.
I guess. Then I don't know why he would go to the battle instead of just going back to his master.
And the
I think it's
battle's
him
over
to.
too, because there's just cheering now.
I think it's for him to
Was that
overtake his
cheering?
cowardice. Oh, there was. Oh, I didn't know there was cheering. I still saw
I heard
smoke.
gunshots. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't hear cheering.
sounded like it was
Uh,
still going on.
Maybe I heard cheering, and to be honest, you fire off your guns when you're no longer. You are supposed to fire off your matchlocks and flintlocks, but when you're done for the day, because that way they're not sitting there loaded. Because when you're done fighting the war, and you all start getting rowdy and drunk to celebrate, you don't want loaded guns around.
Oh, I might have to re-listen. I don't
Yeah,
recall any
I
cheering.
at least I heard cheering. It might have just been me. Famous story, another historical footnote. The British, I think, when they were marching on Lexington, there was a bunch of militiamen there who thought that they didn't have to fight the British for that day, and so they had fired off all their muskets, which led the British scouts to retreat and report to the army that they need to actually march up in formation, because they thought there was a larger American militia force there. I think that's correct. Might have been Concord. So fun
Cool.
fact,
Sounds
yeah,
like a
you could,
national treasure fact.
yeah. Well, that's my example of the one I go to that I know of, where you're supposed to fire off your fucking muskets even though the battle's over, just so you when you're celebrating you don't accidentally hurt anyone.
What do you guys think the shot was representing when he opened his hands and they were clean? He closed them and they opened up and they were bloody or dirty. Black and white, hard to tell what it was, but uh, dirty.
I really liked the shot, but I'm not entirely sure what it's supposed to mean. I think it means that he realizes he's going to be the one to end up having to kill O'Neill, because at this point he doesn't know that no, he knows that Squire came back for him, but he's probably at that point realizes he's going to be have to commit to not being a coward at that point. That's kind of how I took it. Like there is going to be blood on his hands somehow by the end of this.
I thought it was a possibility that he got Cutler killed, and the blood's on his hands,
That's also another interpretation. Yeah.
being that this is before he kills O'Neill.
All right. And Sprinks, I guess your final question?
My final question is: in world, from the beginning of the movie to the end, how much time do you think has passed?
I can't provide an answer. There's um, was there a night?
If the
I can see
battle
a
is
day.
still going on, I would say less
Yeah,
than a
it's like
day.
they had a meal and that was it. Um, it's either probably an hour, a couple hours. No, they have to dig the hole. Hmm. I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 hours, or a second, depending on how you want to do a magic circle. Like they flipped in and out, like it's a pocket thing. Who knows?
Interesting. I would say about 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah, I would say yeah
Yeah.
that checks out. I would say between 4 to 5 hours or less than a daylight period, pretty much.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say less than 8 hours. I think from the battle to the little campfire, I don't know how long that trek took, but that a lot of time. Crossing over into the mushrooms and then Whitehead coming out of the mushrooms, all that time within, I think time has passed, but it's not like frozen outside. But I think time in there is different, and coming out of it is different. So when Whitehead returns back to the war, it's still going on, but that's still him trekking essentially from the campfire all the way back. So I think
Hmm.
for me, all of that is a good amount of hours.
Hmm.
It's within a day.
I concur.
Let's see. My final question. What was it? It was the. How do you guys interpret the whole shadow stuff? It's in the very beginning where he looks off in the fog and sees two figures and refers to, oh, it's nothing. It's just shadows. And then later,
He's standing
it's
there with
stated
the
that
shadows, right?
they're shadows. Well, yeah. At the very end, he's also standing with his friends. But somewhere in the middle area, it's brought up that they're shadows as well. So what does that mean for this film? What do you guys read that as?
I think it's visions of the scrying mirror.
It's probably visions through the scrying mirror. The more symbolic interpretation is that they all still died on this battlefield somewhere. So the shadows are just what's left of the dead.
Okay. And I kind of touched on it being part of my loop theory earlier. So that's it for me. Unless you had any more questions pop up, Ryder, while Sprinks and I were shooting them out.
My last one is just my what I thought of as that I could think of as a question is just what was everyone's thoughts of them posing together for the last shot of the film. So he's with his two friends, but I don't really think that's. Well, I mean, I'll just ask it. What do you guys think of that shot? I guess. What does it mean to you?
I think
I
it's a fine
like it.
shot.
Sprinks and continue.
Okay, cool. I think it's a fine shot. I just take it as Whitehead told Squire when Squire was dying that the real treasure is the friendship we built is like right here between us. I think that's just Whitehead believing in that, and that he's there with the treasured memories of his friends, or the ones he calls friends.
Okay, so he's not dead. He's just standing there with the memory of his friends.
That's what I think. I think Whitehead's the only one alive there.
Okay. And you, Crimson?
Yeah, that's kind of how I viewed it. Kind of like an Arcane with
Yeah.
Jinx's friends over her shoulders in the episode 6.
Yeah. I think it's perfectly
There.
reasonable interpretation. I'm on the same boat. It was either that or they all died. Like so, he went out and died, and that's where they all are now. That's kind of how I viewed it.
Well, that
As my
is if
two.
It's
yeah,
still
depending
viable.
on how you pick up where you think this story is.
Yeah.
I mean, one could believe they're all dead from the get-go, but
Mhm. Very
it's
interesting.
actually kind of an interesting premise of ghosts passing into a face circle.
Write that down. Write that down.
It's them passing the hedgerow. It all
Well, for someone
fits.
out there is like, oh, that is what this movie's about. It's about
It-
ghosts
Possibly.
on their travel to the afterlife come across a face circle. It's like, oh,
yeah.
interesting. But
Yeah. On a funny note, as we are kind of heading towards the end of our coverage here, I was really disappointed that we didn't get more of the English Civil War. I was really hyped, and then it just kind of left.
oh, that's a very you thing. Yep.
Yeah,
They actually don't show like any of it.
I know they showed none of it pretty much.
Yeah. I guess on a funny note
Yeah.
for me, last question I have, I just want to double check. Does anyone have any additional continuity errors that you found?
Singer's shirt wasn't bloodied when he came back. I kind of mentioned it earlier, so that could be
You did.
continuity
You
error.
did. But I think those aren't the same singers. But good
Yeah.
point.
Well, I mean, it could also be because they are all on shrooms that that singer is them seeing it as singer, but it's a soldier from the battle that came over here,
That could also be
and
it.
they just imprinted singer onto him.
Yes.
or, or they're all like the Carmine brothers from Gears of War. They all just look the same, and so all of them
Oh, that
died.
could be it. That's also true. This film could also
Maybe.
be a depiction that the afterlife is in black and white.
Whoa. All right, let's go with our ratings and summaries section. where we will start with a writer.
All right, I'll do my subjective first. Um, can't really affect how I felt watching this. I was a little disappointed that we didn't get much for the English Civil War, as I said. I think outside of that, I was very entranced by a lot of the vision, the cinematography. It's very striking to do it in black and white, and I think that helped the cinematography be a bigger standout. When I think of the film, the shot I think of is still the O'Neill caught in a spider's web almost. It was a very nice, very cool frame. I also think of the when we have the long walking sequence from the tent from Whitehead and he falls to his knees outside and we get the blood on the grass. I did like that shot as well. Um, I very much enjoyed I very much enjoyed the cinematic journey I was took on. Um, though I still feel fairly neutral about this film. Um, so I'm at a 5 subjectively. Um, and I think, yeah, I can't really see that moving too much beyond that. Um, but we'll see if I ever get watch this again. Um, Objectively, I think the world building is very abstract. Um, we don't get many answers with what's going on. The ones that we keep raising are the obviously we don't know what's going on with the ruins. We don't know what's going on with the peg in the ground. The magic is very very interpretable, but I think we all agree that there is some form of magic because everyone being on shrooms doesn't quite account for everything. Hence why I personally lean towards it's probably a conduit that makes it simple mentally to cast magic. Whether they're all insane, there's a few lines of dialogue that allude to them being frauds in conversations with O'Neill and Cutler being before Cutler's executed. Obviously, we kind of talked about that. Potentially, he's potentially an influence of Whitehead. So world building, I just label as abstract. I'm fairly neutral on it because I don't think there's anything that's particularly great or particularly bad outside of the potential inconsistencies. Like if they were trying to make it so that everyone was on shrooms, they kind of failed to achieve that objective if that was it. Or if they wanted there to display magic on a budget explicitly, their shrooms can be kind of used as an excuse to explain it away. So I'm not really sure what the end goal was as far as the writers, but from what I've interpreted, I do think magic exists in the world, and it's just abstract as towards the application. Um, and I'm neutral on it. I don't think it necessarily breaks anything outside of the two possible outliers. Um, the plot I actually think was pretty decent. I think the pacing might be a little bit off here and there. But the idea that they survived this battlefield or died and are ended up in purgatory or end up here. As you can tell, there's a lot of ideas that I'm not entirely sure was going on. But the basic plot of Whitehead is here to arrest someone. They're searching for someone, and they find that person is supposed to arrest, but now he's their prisoner. And that's kind of what the crux of the story is based on with the characters. So I think the plot is okay. Um, the characters, Cutler's probably the weakest. I don't really. He's definitely more functionally as a tool, especially if we end up all agreeing that he was mind controlled by Whitehead. Um, but Cutler is doesn't get much personality to him at the beginning. He just goes off and cuts mushrooms. So he's clearly planning this from the get go, willing to threaten Whitehead because he wasn't high, in order to get him to pull on the peg and release O'Neill from being swallowed by the field. Um, and there's O'Neill's pretty cool villain. Got I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with him. The main contention for me as far as character nicks is or the film is that we needed to be shown the characters trying to escape before they're forced to fight, because especially at least Whitehead is a coward. I can see Squire being more willing to stand and fight. Um, but that could have been something that the film, plays off ultimately. I think Whitehead has the clearest arc in the film, going from being a coward and eventually going to face down one of his captor slash tormentor in O'Neill. I think Squire also gets a bit of an arc. He's very much a grating asshole to those around him until Singer dies for the second time, and he kind of appreciates the help that Whitehead put in for him in helping him look after his sickness and stuff like that, because Whitehead's a learned man. So it makes sense that he would ultimately come back to help Whitehead, and also uh, again that tries to save Singer's life for the third time, but he gets shot for it. So there is plenty of character stuff around the main trio, I would say. Though lots of lingering questions that tie into the plot and world building. Um, I'm been bouncing between a 5 and a 6, and funny enough, I'm also feeling neutral on the objective scale. I'm probably at a 5.5. I think I have a lot of questions that in both the world building aspect, the plotting aspect, and the limitations of what the characters can do within that setting, what's happening to them. Again, it's all kind of intertwined together. But there's still a through line for the characters. I don't necessarily find anything out of character for what's going on. So I think I'm at a 5.5.
Alrighty, and Sprinks, you're up.
Oh boy. All right, let's start with my objective. I think the cinematography in this movie is quite beautiful. Very well done. I think the lighting is a little hard to black and white movie, but I think it's fine. I think the accuracy of the clothing is really good, and I guess the props for the weapons and the cutlery they use when having their meal campfire, I think is historically accurate looking, and the bottle they use for the wine and all that. I think the time period look of how they make it look to the 17th century looks very good. Um, the oh boy, the writing is of dialogue. I think is fine. There's some higher points and some lower points, but the story overall is a little confusing. But I think it's definitely meant to be that way, to not have everything laid out or very linear in explanation. But I do think a little more hint wise, because it does feel like those with prior knowledge of what the writer's intent is aids into the better understanding of the film, but it's not too much of what that is. So I think that's a little detriment to the film itself, because it feels like it's to tailored audiences somewhat that way. But a tailored audience is not needed, because I, for one, did not know about this director or anything they've done, and first time watching this movie kind of thing. I do think it would flesh out more now, having seen the movie all the way through once, to have all that knowledge of what is going to occur throughout the movie could strengthen that of the story, possibly. But I don't know, because I only saw it once. What am I leaving out? I usually always leave out something, but with all that, I think it's pretty darn well made. The acting. I guess the acting too. I think the guy who plays Whitehead is probably the best actor in this. I think he does a very good job. I think the guy who plays Squire and Singer are both very good. O'Neill is kind of a one-note feel character, so I don't think he's the greatest actor. And Cutler doesn't have like much to say really or do with. Um, so I guess kind of with that, the bad guys aren't the greatest actors, but the good guys seem to do fairly well. So objectively, I have it as 7.5. Subjectively, I'm sorry to say, but there are points in this movie where I felt bored. It felt a little sluggish, felt a little dragged on. and a bit confusing. Don't know what's happening. Don't know what's going on. Don't know exactly what is to be explained. Is that a bad thing? A little. I do think one of the hardest hitting things to a film that's supposed to be entertaining, as like its thing, is to bore an audience. Um, and sadly, that hit it down. I don't hate the film, and I do think rewatching the film again with knowing the knowledge of what it is, or better understanding and interpretation of what the film could be, especially if I looked into it more, because I was told to go in as blind as possible, to go in more with the director and writer's intent of what the film is supposed to be, could bump the subjective up now, knowing that is what is supposed to be depicted to the audience on screen. But as of right now, with only the first blind through I've gone through, I have it as a subjective 3.5.
Okay, I shall go next, and I will start with my subjective. So I kind of had a similar sentiment with Sprinks of I did find myself looking at the time here and there, and I wouldn't say I was necessarily bored, but I was getting there, and the last 15 minutes saved the movie for me. I was at a 4 pretty much the whole movie, and the whole ending bumped it up to a 4.5. So that's where I'm at, 4.5. It was a slow burn, but getting all the mushroom stuff, all the stuff of O'Neill just being the bad guy is kind of what bumped it up for me. Objectively, I agreed a lot with what Ryder was saying, where a lot of the characters were consistent with themselves. I think um, Whitehead not trying to escape at the end is probably the biggest character thing through the film. I'd probably list that under a flaw because they even get to the point where they characters call him coward all the time. It's not as like a one-time nickname. He's called a coward constantly. And the one time where a coward would run, he didn't run, and that's before his lesson of no longer being a coward. So I do think that's detrimental to his character. Cutler is the weakest character, as we broke down earlier, and I think him just shooting Singer just because I don't know he's drunk or something isn't strong enough to justify the scene, and subsequently everything following that snowballed. Um, I think the camera is great. I think the sound effects were good. The weakest part of the audio is the syncing with the mouths during the silent world parts. Um, I think the editing was good, even with the like seizure warning parts. I think they did a decent job with that, even though it is a blink and you'll miss it in certain shots. Um, I think the acting was all good. I think Whitehead was the best actor. I do think O'Neill was good. I think he played the character correctly. He felt menacing. Uh, the biggest hit to this would be the world building. It's fine to have a vague movie, but there is a such thing as being too vague, and I think they crossed the line. I think this is too vague. I think we've come up with like 3 or 4 different theories of how this movie went, and I think that's too many theories for a movie on how a movie got played. Um, so I think that's the weakest aspect of it. Everything else is very solid for the construction of it, and I was jumping between 8.5 range, and I'm gonna land with 8.5. It might be generous because I feel like world building and that one part with Whitehead is the biggest detriment. So that's where I'm at.
That's some wild ratings.
Interesting. That
Some
does seem a
very
little
wild
high.
ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else before Ryder takes us out?
Um, I don't think so. Next week is the last episode of the season. think that's about
Yep.
it.
It's been so long since we had a Sinister thing. I think I generally ask if we think Sinister did a good pick. Do you think Sinister did a good job picking this as a
Can
horror
you?
film, or
Okay, I'm like, I don't know how much clarification you can give to your question.
yeah, it's just did he do a good job with the genre of horror, or could
I'm
have
going to say
done better?
no.
For
Okay.
specifically horror, no, but this is also a very sinister pick, so I feel like I'm
I
split
think
down
this
the
would have
middle on
been
that.
followed like Seventh Seal, where that one was a black and white pick. I think this could have fit far better into that. And I don't want to make assumptions or anything, but it does somewhat feel like when looking up black and white movies, this was one he thought about, but went with Seven Seal instead, and that this just kind of fell into the possible ballpark of that. But for just relying on the genre of horror to be pitched with, I don't think this hit the mark.
Yeah, I don't know if this popped up on his black and white radar, but I do know Lake Michigan Monster was a contender instead of Seventh Seal. Um, I do know he told me that. I think this it is technically horror. It's classified as a psychological horror. I think it's like the bare minimum for that classification, and it does scream sinister pick, which at the end of the day I think is part of the reason of having the sinister wheel is getting a little bit of sinister flavor.
I
So
think
is it the
that's fine,
strongest
but
horror film? No, but I do think it achieves the sinister flavor. So kind of with writer of like half and half.
oh, interesting. I guess we see the wheel differently. I don't see the wheel needing a sinister feel to it in a pick. Like his own voice doesn't need to be coming through for it. Just that he chose it and has a strength of it.
Well, I said part of the wheel. I didn't say that's what the wheel was.
Oh, okay.
So,
Sorry.
um,
That's I guess goes back to the clarification of the overarching question. I'm like, just like, is this a good horror film? It's like I need a little more definition than that.
right, then I'm ready to go.
Alrighty. Thank you, audience, for listening, whether it be Spotify, Amazon, Castbox, Good Pods, iHeartRadio, Pocket Casts, and Samsung. And you're going to be at our visual side of things, be it YouTube or Rumble. Thank you for watching our PNG Duper slideshow there. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe everywhere. Tell us how much you hate our opinions or how much you love them. And as always, I've been a geeky writer,
I'm Crimson Maroon.
And I'm Springs.
and we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Toodaloo.